So we just saw the Munsters. Would you like to explain the plot of Rob Zombie's The Munsters?
This is the story of Lily Munster and Herman Munster falling in love in the old country, as they would say, and moving into 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Kind of like a prequel to the show.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How far apart do you think this movie is from the show? Like, them falling in love in the old country, is that like 300 years before the show?
In season 2 of the show, they have their 100th wedding anniversary. They get married in, I want to say, like the 1850s. The show takes place in the 1960s.
So Herman Munster invented rock and roll music in 1860?
Well, I'm sure that Rob Zombie took some creative liberties when it comes to the rock and roll music aspects of this movie.
Winslow's eating a bug. It's believable for me that monsters may have invented rock and roll music.
I'd buy that timeline.
I'm not really a fan of the Munsters. This post sponsored by Addams Family Gang.
Boo. The Munsters are better.
The Munsters are better.
You are a really big fan of the Munsters.
Yes.
I feel like you should take the lead on this. Like, what about it did you like? What didn't you like? What did you think was, like, wrong? Or you're the Munsters super fan here.
Yeah, I think that Rob Zombie did a great job of playing into all the details we learned throughout the show. Like, for example, their family pet. From watching the show, I always kind of felt like, is it a dog? Is it a dragon? So in the movie, they outright say it's an alligator. So I feel like
he kind of a giant lizard monster thing.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's certain things in the Munsters that I feel like are left ambiguous and blank that Rob Zombie sort of filled in that blank a bit, which was interesting to see. I initially didn't really care for Lily Munster and Sharon Zombie's performance of that. However, it's kind of growing on me because they did a good job of making these characters younger versions of the characters we know. Like, Lily Munster is confident and pretty sure of herself, and so seeing her timid in the movie or a little insecure kind of bothered me at first, but I think it was actually pretty intentional and well done. I also feel like they did a great job of leading up to Grandpa and Herman's relationship.
I would disagree with you on that, because that's the part of this movie that didn't really feel right to me.
Which part?
Herman and Grandpa's relationship. What little I know from the Munsters, like, their relationship in the show is very different from their relationship in the movie, which, again, they're, like, growing to that point. But it's like, Grandpa hates him, he thinks he's a jerk, he thinks he's stupid, he thinks he's not good enough for his daughter. And then Herman, like, accidentally sells the castle, basically, that they live in, like the family home. And then Grandpa's like, you stupid idiot, how could you do this? And then Herman's like, I know, let's move to California, and then everything's okay. Well, it really felt like they were missing, like, a really big part of the story in between those two things happening.
I feel like this is you not knowing the show as well as I do, because I feel like in the show, Grandpa and Herman are constantly towing the line of, all right, we're the older men in the house, we're going to do shenanigans and be silly together against Lily. But also, Grandpa's kind of always undercutting Herman with jokes about how he's stupid, or, oh, you know, you better not go to the poorhouse. Who's going to take care of me if not for you? Like, I think that they have that kind of relationship where there's the classic father-in-law tension, but they do become buddy-buddy in a lot of ways.
Is it weird that they're rich now?
They're constantly flowing in and out of money, I think. Because they do make reference a lot to inheritance, to... should I stop?
No.
They do make reference to old money from the old country, but they also often aren't financially stable. So I don't. There were certain things about the movie that at first kind of felt off, but I'm rewatching the show right now, and the more I rewatch it, the more I feel
rewatching it. I thought you found a whole season you hadn't seen.
Well, I guess I realized how many gaps of episodes I had missed. I really thought I had seen like all of the Munsters, and there are definitely like 4 episodes in a row that I had never seen somehow. So
I feel like we need to have this conversation about the way the movie looks. We did not watch this movie in color.
thankfully.
You were really excited for this movie, so you were looking forward to the trailer. I watched the trailer, and it looked... The more I looked at it, the more it made sense to me that it was supposed to be black and white.
Like that was Rob Zombie's initial vision.
Yeah, Rob Zombie uses a lot of older technology to make his movies and a lot of older formats to recreate the style that he loves, and he really loves the Munsters. That's why he made this movie. So like, the fact that it isn't black and white is like a red flag to me. In my mind, he probably wanted this to be as close to the original show as possible. The second biggest thing that's like, should have been black and white, is like all the color that makes it look unappealing is coming from the lighting, but everything is also so overlit.
Which would lean to it being in black and white.
Yes, because black and white, you need more lighting to get like shades of black, shades of gray, shades of white, and then there's the whole thing where like it's a low budget kids movie being directed by Rob Zombie. Like what part of Rob Zombie's fan base is going to be interested in a kids movie? What part of the Munsters fan base is going to be interested in a movie from Rob Zombie? So I feel like the studio is just like, no black and white, that's too risky, we're already taking too many risks here. And in my mind, this was something where like, Rob Zombie was like, okay, you want it to be in color, we're gonna make it in color, and just tried to make it look as bad as possible. So that the producers would be like, okay, you can do it in black and white like you wanted. You look at this side by side, and it's so unappealing and like gross and fake looking, and then you make it black and white and it's like, it literally looks exactly like the show.
I don't think that he made it gross looking on purpose. I think that the Munsters, the TV show, would look terrible if it had been in color. Because of the style and the makeup and the costumes, the characters in the show are very like clunky and awkward. And in the show, Herman Munster has black makeup in semicircles on his nostrils. And when you take a moment to like pause and look at it, it looks terrible. But in combination with everything that he has going on and with the way that it's done and filmed, you hardly ever notice. The black and white showcases that and also hides that in all the right ways. He did it true to the show, and what he did needed to be in black and white.
Do you think he wanted it to be in color?
No. I think if I had watched this the first time in color, I wouldn't like it as much as I do.
We watched it, and then I went back and showed you that one scene in color, and you were just like, oh my god!
Yeah.
Even I was like taken aback by how bad it looked in color. Like, the whole shot was just digital, like it was all fake. And in black and white, it looked like it was a real set. So, very, very much recommend, if you watch this movie, put it in black and white. Turn your TV saturation down to 0, turn the contrast up a little bit, maybe put that backlight up, and it's gonna feel and look exactly like the original show. It's gonna be a much better experience. I thought Sharon Zombie did a pretty good job.
I liked Grandpa and Herman more, but I think comparatively, yeah, she still did do pretty decent.
Who played Grandpa and Herman?
They were both pretty unknown actors. I remember, I couldn't tell you, but I remember looking them up and not personally, I don't think recognizing anything they had done.
This was probably stupid of me, but I really thought John C. Reilly was going to play Herman in this movie. I thought that's why he was playing Herman in Licorice Pizza. I thought Paul Thomas Anderson was like in the know about this movie.
I don't remember Herman Munster being in Licorice Pizza. I really like who they casted to play him, and I especially love the way they captured his, like, dumb... They do such a good job of making him dumb and yet good-hearted. Like, in the show, Lily talks all the time about how the most unusual things happen to you. I feel like the error that Herman makes at the end of this movie really preludes to the fact that that's going to be a sticking point for future episodes or future years to come.
Do you think they'll make a sequel or like a TV show based off this movie?
I mean, the TV show is kind of the sequel to this. This is a prequel.
There's like definitely a big gap between where this movie ended and where the show starts though. They don't even have their kid yet.
There's a lot more that they could do, I think. Like, I feel like we never learn a lot about Marilyn and how she's related to them and how she plays into all this.
I always thought Eddie was a werewolf. And then I looked at their family like Frankenstein, vampire. How is their son a werewolf? And then their uncle in this movie and apparently in the show is a werewolf. And I was like, oh, so there's like werewolf genes in their family. Okay then. But then I realized that he's just a vampire.
Yeah. One of the relatives is the creature from the Black Lagoon. And Herman has a son, even though he's a Frankenstein. Yeah, so I think it's more just that they're all monsters.
So like the entire Munster family is every monster in the world?
No.
Is that what it's implying?
No, I don't think so.
Do they ever meet other monsters that they aren't related to?
There are lots of episodes where they make reference to the old country and friends, family, people dying, people who are dead, or I don't know. They make reference to the community that they were a part of in the old times and allude to the fact that there are other monsters amongst those crew. They definitely have a varied history. There are a lot of directions that Rob Zombie could have taken this, and it's interesting to me that he chose their love story. I think it's kind of cute.
It's the story of Rob Zombie.
I don't think so.
Meeting Sharon.
Maybe. I liked it, yes. It could have been... I don't know how, but I could have liked it more, I think. But he did a good job with it.
I feel like the structure was really weird. Again, like, from the Grandpa hating Herman to them moving to LA and Grandpa being like, this is a great idea. It was just like, what? Like, he wanted to kill him at one point in the movie. And then he sold the castle.
Classic Grandpa.
This was the Addams Family. They would have just tried to kill each other and failed.
I like the Addams Family, but they don't beat the Munsters.
I did like this movie. I would recommend it, but only if you watch it in black and white. It's paced really weird. The humor's really weird. You might not get as much out of it as we did, but it's a pretty good, like, Halloween movie to watch right now.
Yeah. I would be curious to know what someone's perspective would be on this if they knew nothing about the Munsters.
Especially if they watched it in color.
Yeah.
Oh. They'd probably give it like a 1 out of 10.
Let's make this episode in black and white.
I'm gonna do that for the next one.
No.